Right, hello folks, welcome back. This is the second video in the Easter special workshop. Yesterday I recorded a video about making your Easter bunny, and today we're going to look at making a little drawstring bag which you could use on Easter egg hunts or for toys or anything else. It's a simple drawstring bag that you can pull both sides to tighten. It's not lined and it's really easy. So let's make a start. So you'll remember yesterday I said that you'd need about 30 centimetres of fabric from a roll or a few fat quarters. So you should have enough, having cut out your bunny yesterday, for the bag. Now what you need now is to cut two rectangles. Now you can cut them really any size you want, according to how much fabric you've got. I've got two here cut to 15 centimetres by 20 centimetres, having them lengthways like that, and I've cut two, a front and a back, so there's my front and a back. But you can adjust that to whatever size you want, go smaller or bigger. Now the first thing we want to do, and you'll see why we're doing this later on, we want to press under on all sides of both rectangles about ½ centimetre. So don't need to be precise on measurements, but just try and make it the same all the way around. So it's about so much all the way around. And here's one I did earlier to show you. So I've already pressed this. You'll see I've pressed under a little bit all the way around. And here's the other one. There, all pressed. Now, whereas with the bunnies yesterday, we sewed them with the fabric wrong sides together and sewed as a top stitch, we're doing the usual right sides together today for sewing, which means our seam will be hidden inside. So we're going to pin them or clip them right sides together. But before we do that, we're just going to deal with stitching down the folded edge, which will give you a neat seam allowance, and on the drawstring it will mean that you get a neat seam where the ribbon comes out of the tube here. If you left your raw edges as they were, this would fray and wouldn't look very good. So we're pressing under just to seal off those raw edges. So I'll do that now. Pull the machine towards me. Machine's on, and I'm just going to stitch close to the fold, close as you dare really. I'm going to do a couple of millimetres from the fold. Lock stitch to start. Oh, and then my needle's unthreaded. How annoying. You'll find that happens quite a bit, but at least my machine has a little widget you can pull down to help rethread it. So there we go, threaded again. Right, so I'm positioning close to my fold. I'm going to stitch just a couple of millimetres from the edge of the fold. And I'm going to start with a lock stitch, a few stitches forward, a few back, and away I go. So you don't need to push the fabric too much to guide it. You just need to steady it so it doesn't slip off the machine. It might want to slip that way. When you get to the corner, just make sure your pressed edges are folded over one another. You can stitch over the top, and then when you're right at the corner, I'm using the side handle to go slowly. Make sure your needle's left in your fabric, lift up the presser foot, twiddle the fabric round, foot down, and off you go again. Right, I'm at the corner again, so needle in, twist the fabric, foot down, and off I go. Just fold down that corner. Last edge. And I just did a lock stitch to finish. So there we go. So that's one side stitched. There we go. And I'm just going to do the same on the other one. I'll just whiz around this one and then I'll show you the next stage. Right, that's the second one done. Just going to trim my threads. Gosh, it's a beautiful day today. The sun is streaming in my shed, boiling in here. Right, turn the dehumidifier off, don't need that on. Right, so we've got our two pieces stitched all around the edge to neaten off our edges. So the next thing we want to do is, as we said, we're going to stitch right sides together. So we're going to put the right side of the fabric facing each other, and then we'll be stitching round here. Now, before we do that, we're going to press under about 1.5 centimetres. You don't have to be too precise. I like these little sewing rulers you can get, and you can adjust the measurement as you want it. So that's now measuring 1.5 centimetres, and it's just easier to line up that, check you're on track with your seam. Now my little iron's been heating up, and I know I'm ironing straight on the table, but it's a Formica table, my grandmother's old kitchen table, and it can cope with the heat. So I'm just going to eyeball that and then check that. Yeah, 1.5 centimetres, and then press that down. So I've pressed under the top of each side by about 1.5 centimetres. Okay. Now we're going to stitch across the top to create a tube for your ribbon now. So pull the machine back. And I'm just going to stitch again close to the previous line of stitching, close to the edge of the fabric. You might want to line up the edge of the fabric with the edge of your presser foot or one of the seam allowance lines, something that keeps you roughly on track to keep you straight. So starting one side lock stitch, I'm going to whiz along to the other side. Trim my threads. Right, so I've done one tube at the top. I'm going to do the next one now. Always tuck my threads under the presser foot into the back to keep them out of the way. I'm going to do a similar seam allowance as I did for the last one. Oh, when the needle's come undone again. There we go, re-threaded. Tuck the thread behind. Position the presser foot, and off I go. And a lock stitch to finish. Okay, trim my threads. There we go. Machine away. Right, so we've got our two rectangles finished the raw edges all around the edge and created a tube across the top that will be used for the ribbon later. So here are my two rectangles. I'm now going to put them right sides together, and then that will mean that the seam is hidden inside. Now, you can use pins or clips, or you might be able to just hold it, but I like these wonder clips I talked about yesterday, and I'm just going to clip a few clips. Don't worry if the sizes aren't exactly the same. If you use a slightly different seam allowance on each rectangle, they won't be exactly the same, but that doesn't matter because it'll be caught in the new seam allowance when you sew your bag. So I just clipped the four corners like that. So you might want to clip or pin. Now we're going to stitch three sides together, down one side, across the bottom and up the other side. We want to leave open the top, obviously, because that's the top of the bag, and we also only want to start and finish just below the tube you've created. So I'm going to start about there and finish about there to leave the tube open. And again, small seam allowance, but you want to come to the left of that stitch line you did before, so that will hide that stitch line and you won't see it when you turn it the right way around. So check my thread's long enough so it's not going to undo itself this time. Okay, so first clip off, I'm positioning just under that tube, close to the edge, and do lock stitch to start. With lock stitch to make it nice and strong, and then I'm going to sew round. When I get to my corners, I'm going to pivot, get right to the corner, but to the left of your previous stitch line, needle in, foot up and pivot. You'll see my two pieces of fabric don't match up exactly because I've done it quickly, but that you won't see that later. Right, and last pivot. And I'm going to remember to stop, pull the channel at the top, and do a good lock stitch, and there we go. Push the machine away. That's the sewing done. I'm just going to trim my threads. Excuse the grotty plaster on my thumb. Right. So we've done all our stitching. We've sewn all around the edge, and we've left the tube open. So we're now going to turn it the right way round. And I like, you know, if you've done one of my workshops, I've got a real thing about this. I like the corners to be pressed out as well as you can. You won't be able to press them all the way out because of the previous stitching we did, but as much as you can. And I'm using the blunt end, the handle of the knitting needle, not the point. So I would spend a bit longer pressing that out, but I won't do that now. So, got your bag the right way round, and I'm going to give it a little press. And again, I like the side seams pressed out nicely, not caught in the fold. You can do that by running your fingers down or the blunt end of the knitting needle down the sides. Get them pressed out nicely. And there we go, our little bag. Now the last thing, we just need to put the ribbon through. So I've got 2 lengths of ribbon. Now the reason we use 2 is so that when you thread your ribbon in, if you do one going in from each direction, you can do that pull closed. If you only thread it in one side, it won't do that pull. So your pieces of ribbon, you need 2 pieces, and they need to be long enough to go all around the bag, come out the other end and tie a knot. So whatever size bag, make sure that your ribbons are long enough, or wool or string or whatever you're using. And now the easiest way I find is to use a